Hey folks, welcome back to another live Q&A with yours truly, Sam Healy. I am here ready to answer your questions, but there is a little bit of an overarching I guess you could say theme that we're going to be tackling today as well. So there's going to be an online discussion about that. I'll be popping over to our Twitch channel every once in a while to see if there are any questions or comments that are pertinent to the conversation there. But then I also have the Dice Tower Live comments that are coming in as well. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Now, you might be asking the question, why, what is this talking about? What is this whole idea of camaraderie or competition? And this is just a thought that I had about a week ago, I guess, and I've just been thinking about it more often because our society, at least here in America, with capitalism and all of that kind of stuff, it seems to be very heavily centric around competition. Like you want to make, and this goes back to when I first started making resumes for finding a job and that type of stuff, and the people that were helping me do my resume is that you were supposed to make yourself sound as good as possible, and then of course without lying. So you would use words that sound better because you're competing in essence with somebody else. And I know that some of that has to take place. So I'm not talking about an anti-capitalism thing here. That's not what I'm talking about at all. But take that into account with the idea of just simply helping people. In this industry, in the board game industry, I run into a lot of people that they seem to be, at the very least, very concerned about helping people, for example, get their game published. Or, it's not their game, it's somebody else's game. But I know that there's probably some kind of an investment there because they want to be one of the developers, one of the, whatever, you fill in the blank. But I run into a lot of people that seem to be very concerned about helping other people succeed. And I don't think that has to be diametrically opposed to this idea of competition. There's always going to be competition, especially within a capitalistic society. And again, I'm not anti-capitalism here. That's not it at all. But what I am thinking is that at the very least, possibly within our hobby, or maybe even just your little niche of the hobby, why can we have less competition? Why couldn't we have less competition and more camaraderie? And more, I want to see people succeed, and less, I don't want to see anybody succeed unless it's me. That's the whole idea. That's the thought process that I've had. So I want to get your input on that. But of course, I am here to answer your questions as well. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get to some of these comments and questions. And then we'll hit the ground running after that. So let's see here. We have Gabor. Hello again. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us here today. Audio visual is good. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Hello, Joshua. You reminded me of Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello. Yes. Hey, good morning. Not my eyeball games. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see. Getting some weird looks from your coworkers. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that in the middle of the workplace. Good morning, Warpchi. Is that how you pronounce that? Warpchi? All right. Terrible weather in North Florida today. Huh. Greetings from South Africa. Hello. All right. All right, here we go. First question here is, Sam, do you think you and Z will get to play Gloomhaven with Tom? I understand it so that you wanted to play it more. Yeah, we have. We've only played it once, and then Tom took it home, and he has apparently played it a lot by himself. And he won't play it with us anymore. He won't bring it in. So I don't know what the deal is. I'm hoping to, because my first impression of it wasn't very high. There's a lot of buzz about it. A lot of people like it. So my first impression was that the learning curve was just a little bit too steep for me. But I do want to play it some more to see how long, I guess you could say, it takes for that to level out a bit. But so yeah, I hope so. And given how much Tom likes it, I would imagine it will happen. But but I don't know when. I am clearly a socialist. Yes, that might be the very first time I have ever been called that. But that is not, I'm not, no, not even close. Have I gotten around to playing the expansion for level 7 Omega Protocol yet? No, we have not. We have so many. I mean, we have gone through a lot of games. Over here off to my left-hand side is a bunch of games that are still in shrink, that have not been opened yet, and we open those for the daily unboxings that we do. So there are two shelves that are about 3/4 full over here, and then that's just the ones that haven't even been opened yet. We have 4 shelving units over in our other studio that are full of games that have been opened, they've been sorted, and they are ready to be played. So there are a lot of things that are in the queue. So no, I have not, but that doesn't mean we won't. What historical war games would you suggest after trying Memoir 44 and Combat Commander? Oh, wow. Well, Combat Commander is probably... I wouldn't really call that the next step. So if you've already tried Combat Commander, well, then you've already taken another couple of steps into it. Past Combat Commander, I would say you could, I mean, the Coin series is out there. I've only played a couple of those games, so I'm not an expert at all, but I know that they are very popular among wargamers. So the Coin series of games is very good from what I have heard, again. And then Advanced Squad Leader, or you could even go a step before Advanced Squad Leader and go with the ASL starter kits or starting kits. There's, I think, last I heard, there were 4 of them. They could have come out with more after that, but maybe just 3 or 4. I don't know. Last time I heard. So that would be the next step. Even before Combat Commander, you could give Heroes of Normandy a try. That is a very neat system from Devil Pig Games in yellow that has squad-based combat, but all of the tiles have your units on them. It's not miniatures. And it has all of your unit information on it. So once you know the system, you have to check the rulebook very little, which is a really cool thing. They also, the reason I said Shadows is because they have a Shadows over Normandy expansion for that, along with a number of different expansions for different kinds of things concerning World War II in Heroes of Normandy. But they also have Shadows over Normandy, which is a Cthulhu-esque expansion for it, and this year they're coming out with Heroes of Blackreach, which is a Games Workshop Warhammer 40K themed game in the Heroes system. So they're doing a lot with that game, and that would probably be in between Memoir 44 and Combat Commander as far as complexity is concerned. Then there's also Tide of Iron is another historically based miniatures game. It has a caveat of you can actually build your units on bases, which at first I thought was amazing, but it got a little fiddly. It has gone through a couple of iterations though, so maybe they have fixed some of that fiddliness of popping the miniatures down into the bases, and maybe they're a little bit stronger, but it just made me nervous. I thought I was going to break them or bend them or what have you. But that's another one you could give a try, Tide of Iron. Yeah, that probably has a stepping stone. As far as complexity is concerned, I would say Memoir 44 is among the easier kinds of games as far as the first step, and then you go past, and Heroes of Normandy is slightly, ever so slightly more complex, and then you've got Combat Commander, and then ASL-SK, and then ASL, and then you can go in there. I don't know exactly where the Coin series would fall within that, but maybe somebody in the chat would be able to answer that question. So that was a long answer. I apologize. Had this same thought a few weeks ago. Okay, I think Tony is talking about the overarching theme. So let's switch gears to that one. In a big picture sense, I think healthy competition brings out innovation in the wider scheme. The USSR, the Soviet, and the U.S. space race reached places cooperation couldn't. That's interesting. I wonder if that's true, because I wonder if you have people working together trying to accomplish the same goal, if you couldn't go further than competition. Because in competition, you've got two sides, right? And one side is not talking to the other side because they don't want them to get any leg up, you know, on themselves. You don't want their opposition to get the leg up on you, so you don't talk. But in a camaraderie, or when you're trying to help one another, there is this thing where ideas are shared on both sides, and it seems, and you know, that's the word it looks like. That's the word I'm coming to here. Is it seems like if there were more open communication and more helping one another, then there would be the opportunity, at the very least, to go higher. I guess camaraderie then would run the risk of I guess falling down into laziness, where I don't have to compete, so I don't have to work as hard. But again, that's something that I think you always have to be careful with. You always have to be careful with not being lazy. You always have to be careful with not working hard. You have to actively work against that. So in a competition, there's, I guess, more initial push not to get lazy. But in a camaraderie, I think everybody working together, you're naturally not going to get lazy. So I don't know. Again, this is just thought processes. So this is open dialogue. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that I don't know yet. So okay, good thought. Let's see. Is it too soon to give us your impression about Batman GCC after your first play? Well, you know, that is actually not my first time playing it. When we played it live here, it was the first time playing it with the revised rules that they had come out with after all of the place testing that they've done at conventions. But I had played it twice before, and it felt very similar. A lot of the iconography had changed, some of the terminologies had changed. So, but all in all, it seems like it's very similar to what I had played. So that's actually the third time I had played it, and I do enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot, actually. But I mean, with that having been said, I haven't actually ever played a final product, so I can't give that much to it. I still would like to get a play with a final product under my belt before I give everything away. But I do enjoy the system. I like the river system that the bad guys have to use in both Conan and Batman. So that was kind of a staple that I knew I was going to enjoy it. I like the system of dice rolling. So there's a lot of good stuff that's in it in both of those games, and I like the differences as well. So that's about all I want to say with it right now. I know you're a fan of Spectre Ops, Daniel says. So am I. I feel like the game is heavily favored towards the agent, though, especially with the invisibility equipment. Do you disagree, agree? What's your experience? I've experienced kind of a 50-50, really. It does at first seem like the agent has the upper hand, but I think more often than not, people think that the more experienced gamer needs to play the agent, and the less experienced gamers need to play the people that are trying to catch the agent. That might play more into the imbalance that's there, because the more experienced person is going to know how to exploit all of those different kinds of equipments, whereas the people who are new or not as savvy to the game are not going to know how to exploit their specific character's abilities. So I think that might be more to the imbalance than any flaw of the game. Because usually the person who is the most familiar is the one playing the agent, and they're better at playing the game just from experience than other people who have never played it before. So I don't say that I disagree with you. I just think that it might be not a flaw of the game as you seem to be saying that it is. Hello from Indianapolis, Frank. You're not too far away from my dad's hometown. My dad grew up in Anderson, Indiana. So we have been to Indianapolis a couple times. My grandparents took me to see the qualifying runs of the Indy 500 one year. My wife, she was not my wife at that time, she was there as well. That is an amazing experience. We really enjoyed that a lot. Sininsky Lawson says, what game do you recommend for a 9-year-old and 4-year-old and adult? Wow. Oh my goodness. Ice Cool, King of Tokyo, Banana Bandits. These are ones that you already have. Strawberry Studios, they are a division of NSKN Games, and they have a lot of games that are more family weight games. What's Up is one of them, I think. Another one is Strawberry Ninja, and then they also have one called Pyramid of the Sun. Those three are games that you can try. They're small card games, but I think they would span that group. My son is 7; he'll be 8 this year. And he loves all three of those games. He really enjoys them. Pyramid of the Sun is a little bit just on the upper cusp of what he can grok and grasp. So maybe your 9-year-old would be right along with that. 4-year-old, though, you might have to bring some of the rules down to their level. 4 years old is a little low for all three of these games. But What's Up is a neat little game where you're just trying to go off of memory, and you're trying to get collect sets of birds on the same line. And I think it's called What's Up. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Anyway, that might be okay for your 4-year-old, but the other two might be a bit much. Did you ever have your kids play a children's version of a game? For example, My First Stone Age, then quickly. We've played My First Bonanza with my son, Aiden, and he grabbed onto that really quick. We haven't made the transition over to regular Bonanza yet, but I think he's ready for it. But we have done My First Bonanza. We have not done any of the other ones. Let's see here. Theocracy is a great band. Any other recommendations? 1,000 Foot Crutch is a good one. They're known as TFK. They're a good one. Golden Resurrection is a good one. They're from, I believe, Scandinavia. Bloodgood is another Scandinavian, I believe, band. They're a little bit older, though. You might have trouble finding some of their stuff. But both of those that's a couple more. You can check those out. Let's see. I think most play to win, but I'm not opposed to helping another player make a good move if I see it and they want it and they want the help. I'll help anyone except Corey. My goal is that Corey loses. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking more on a corporate sense, but I'm not turning away these kinds of comments either, because I think it is a mindset more than anything else. I do also like to help people during games, sometimes too much so. Like, for example, when I was playing Roar, King of the Pride, live, some of the people that were making comments during the live play of it were saying that I was using my daughter against my son David, and so I was manipulating her, and that was not the case at all. I really do think I was telling her what she should do, because that was part of my teaching process for her. She understood all the mechanisms of the game, but she was having trouble finding out what would be the best thing for her to do. And so, given her situation, and it turned out that she got 3rd place only by 1 point, which is what you usually are supposed to teach people, right? Improve your own position in the game. She was definitely in 3rd place, but she was trying to get into 2nd place and then, if possible, 1st place. And so she was supposed to be bettering her position, and that's what I really want to do. And she wanted, at least I think she wanted the help, and if you go back and watch that, I hope you can see that I'm trying to help her, but not make it to where that I was using her as a shield. I really wasn't trying to. I was trying to help her out. So that's the problem there, is that the perception can be, and I think it's possibly because of this whole competition-based society that we have, that if you're helping other people, it feels like you are, because we're competitive-based society, I guess, it feels like you're trying to better your position by helping somebody else hurt somebody else. So that is a strange dilemma. Let's see. Played my first game of Star Wars Legion last night. Really enjoyed it. Are you still playing it? I've only played it a couple of times. I haven't been able to get back to it yet, but I'm interested. I'd rather play my next game be a larger game, and that's just harder to get to the table. Greetings from Peru. Hello, Alan. Have you played Thanos Rising? Have not. Not yet. We've only we unboxed it, and then we also got introduced to it at Gamma, but we have not gotten it to the table yet. I think Tom has, if I'm not mistaken. Is it competition between designers that gets better games in our hands, or are we getting fewer because we don't help more designers get their games out? That's a good question, Joshua. And that's kind of where that's even content creators can do that, right? We can help other people put out more content. Or we can say, you know what, you take care of your stuff and I'll take care of my stuff. And we'll still get stuff out there, but it's possible, I think, to get more out there if you help people more. So, yeah. Again, this is not a complete thought. I am not a guru here. I'm not... this is just something I've been thinking about, and I wanted to open it up to you guys. So, who from the Dice Tower is coming this year to UK Games Expo? Do you have your own plans while in England like you had last year? It is going to be myself, Z, and Tom, and I believe I think that's all that's coming from our side of the pond. We will have other people that are contributors that live in Europe that are there that can make it. So, but I don't know exactly who of them will be there. But yeah, we do have a few plans. Usually on the day before the UK Games Expo, I go to Nottingham and spend the day at Games Workshop or Warhammer World. So that's usually set in stone. The other couple of days we usually just do some sightseeing stuff in London and the surrounding areas. So I don't know exactly what we have planned to do this time, but those are the three that are going to be there for sure, myself, Z, and Tom. Recently played Blood Rage with 4 players. One of the players around the table was drafting poorly. Do you have any recommendation on how to attack this problem, since it gives an advantage to another? Usually that's okay. One of the things that the rulebook states, I believe, is that you always draft to the left. I think you always draft to the left, and if that's the case, that is a game-long problem that always gives the person who is drafting poorly or the person on the other side, the left of that person, just a really huge advantage. So to switch that up, I usually just go draft left, right, left, because at least then there is a little bit of a change there. Other than that, I usually take some time, not a whole lot of time, but I usually take some time at the very beginning and explain to everybody at the table, but especially to new players, that there are combinations in the game, and if you and I name certain ones of them, like you don't usually want one person to get 2 Glorious Deaths quest cards, because that can really help them a lot, get a lot of points. So you usually don't want the same cards going to the same people all the time, because then they'll be able to get these really awesome combos that are difficult to beat, honestly. So I'll spend some time during explanation to kind of counteract that, but it's just, that's the way it is when you play games like that with new people. It's just going to happen. And it's not necessarily that they are drafting poorly, it's that they are drafting, they are just they're not as familiar with the game as you are. So it's not really that they're doing a bad job, they're just not savvy on everything that they might be doing. Let's see, I can't wait to send my 2-player board game to create a gameplay review for us. Okay. Well, hopefully that's going to happen. I guess that's going to be going to Mark Streed, but I don't know. All right. A movie isn't considered successful unless it profits $200 million. Is this happening in games? I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of small success stories that are out there. I know I'm watching a game. I haven't backed it, but I know I'm watching a game that just funded with, you know, just enough for it to fund, and the designers are absolutely ecstatic about it. So I don't think the measure of success should have a dollar amount on it. It really needs to come from what your goal was, and if you reach that goal, well, then you are successful. I think that's probably cool. How do I feel about Lords of Waterdeep? I like it. It's a fun game, but Champions of Midgard has kind of done away with it, because I like the theme of Champions of Midgard a lot, and the gameplay is very similar. Not exactly, but it feels and plays very similarly, so I like the theme of Champions of Midgard better. So, especially with the 2 expansions that have just come out. So, Lords of Waterdeep has kind of fallen by the wayside for me, but I did enjoy it. It was a good game, and it still is. People, you know, a lot of people still enjoy it, and a lot of people don't even agree with me that Champions of Midgard is better. But I think it's more of a personal decision, personal choice, than anything that could be objectively said. How do you think people feel about combat? I think how people feel about competition versus camaraderie depends on the people on a personality level and how they deal with being a gracious or sore winner or loser. That's true. That can be very, very true. But, and again, I have been the exact same way. I do feel sometimes that, for example, teaching somebody how to play, let's say in a 2-player game, or it doesn't even have to be. If I'm teaching somebody how to play, for example, with my kids, especially with my 2 older boys, if I'm teaching them how to play the game, it's no holds barred. I will be ruthless against them, because they're older, they're young men at this point, and they can handle it. My 7-year-old, he's going to be 8 this year. I teach him in a different way. So I guess you could say that, yeah, there's even really different ideas on what a gracious winner looks like, or what a sore loser or a gracious loser looks like. And that does come down to the personality level. But again, I think that it's just it is different for different people. And you have to understand that there's no one real tried and true answer here. That's why I'm just trying to open it up and see what you guys think. Let's see. Do you still play a good amount of board games in your leisure time? Yes, but not as often, because my leisure time is usually, for example, my hobby and my work have grade. There's no longer really a line between work and hobby anymore. So leisure time takes on a little bit more of a either darker or lighter tinge, because I'm either trying to step away from my work, which in essence is stepping away from that hobby of playing games, because I want to break from it. And usually we do something else. Like last night, instead of playing a game, we went and saw Ready Player One, which is the next question. Have you seen Ready Player One? If you read I did not read the book, so I don't know what changes that were made in the movie. I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was great. I loved all of the little Easter eggs that were in the movie from all of that 80s and early 90s stuff. I really enjoyed it. It was nostalgic, and my wife and I both really enjoyed it. My son loved it as well, and he wasn't even privy to any of that stuff. He just liked the grandeur of it, but we did enjoy it. Just get the feeling that CMON has moved on from Moloch before it's even come out, not to mention the lack of Q&A on the expansions. Ooh. All right, Jim is getting his feathers ruffled. All right, this is going back to this whole idea of a movie isn't considered successful unless it profits $200 million. Is this happening in games? Moloch and Rum and Bones Second Tide don't seem to be getting the same attention as Rising Sun and Zombicide in spite of being great games. That is correct. Z was just talking about playing Rise of Moloch tonight at game night. So Jim, I think, has a pretty good finger on that pulse there. CMON has moved on from Moloch before it even came out. I don't know that that's the case. I just think that we saw Rise of Moloch a year ago at CMON Expo last year. So there has already been buzz. I think there's some of this idea of feeling like they're done with it before they've even begun is the fact that they showed it to everybody so long ago. And that's unfortunate, but I don't think it's any less of a good game just because they showed it off so long ago. I have not played Ambush, and I'm sorry you lost your copy in a flooded basement. Let's see. Hi from Eastern Canada. I am Steven's favorite in the Ultimate Trio. Woohoo! Thank you. I find competition gets you to get to a place where you wouldn't have been if you didn't have a little competition. Okay, yeah, I can see that. But again, I just don't know. I don't know that it would be different if we didn't have a more camaraderie-based industry. I don't know that it would be different. I think working together, we can reach at least the same goal, or if not better. I don't know. Again, this is stuff I'm thinking about. What's the symbol on the back of my computer? This symbol right here is a squadron patch from the U.S. Air Force, and a friend of ours, well, he was a fan of ours. He sent it to us, a bunch of stickers and patches and stuff like that. Just to show his support, and we support. I support. I can't talk for anybody else. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit that mic. I'm a huge supporter of our nation's military. My dad was in the Air Force. He retired as a captain from the U.S. Air Force back when I was in high school. So I grew up moving around, living in base housing and all of this other kind of stuff. I'm what you would call a third culture kid, which I didn't even know the name of that until I went to go teach in Korea and had that explained to me. So it's I just have a very deep respect for our service members, and I try to say that often. When I was picking up my breakfast this morning at a local Cuban diner down here, a couple of police officers walked in, and I was able to shake their hand and thank them for their service. So I'm people who do that. I don't want to overly praise them, but I definitely want to recognize the sacrifice that's there, because a lot of people don't really get it, but I grew up, and again, I love the opportunities that I had traveling with my dad to his different posts of duty, but it's a little bit of a different life when you don't grow up in the same town with the same people throughout your entire life, and you go to kindergarten with the same person that you graduate high school from. That's like a completely foreign thing to me. I grew up every 3 or 4 years starting from scratch as far as friends were concerned. And it's not a pity party. It's just that's the way it was. And so it's just a completely different thing. And military families, I get it. And I understand the sacrifice that's there in order to serve the country. It's a volunteer thing. They ask for it, but I think they need support. So that's it. I'll get off my soapbox. I apologize. Let's see. Let's see here. Hello, Vernon. Good to see you again, man. Well, see. Why isn't Suzanne on the wall? I don't know. She will be soon. We have these two panels, this one right here and the one on the other side of the TV. They're going to get the same treatment, so I just think she's in phase 2. I believe that's what's going on. Upgrading Zombicide Invader seems right up your alley. It does. I watched the video. I think it's going live today. I think the Kickstarter is going live today, the 10th. Yeah, today's the 10th. So I watched the video, the promotional video that they made for it, and it does look really cool. So we'll have to see. I mean, like Green Horde, it felt different than Black Plague, so I'm hoping that Invader feels different from the other two. But we'll see. USSR versus USA space race, nuclear race are not good pictures of healthy competition. In my opinion, that might be true. That was kind of interesting. Both sides took huge risks in the hope of getting ahead, which lead to some unfortunate events. That is also very true. So, yeah, we'll do that. Pokemon or Digimon, Transformers or GoBots, Captain America or Iron Man. I'm definitely Team Cap. I am a Transformers fan, and I really could care less about Pokemon or Digimon. I couldn't care less, rather. I don't mean to offend anybody by saying that, but just the way it is. Josh Fry, I think about this competition versus camaraderie in design all the time. Thank you. As a designer, I freely offer help at protospiel and playtests. It's like helping them to compete against me. It is like that, which is part of the conundrum, right? Which is part of the dilemma, because in essence, what you're doing is you're helping them possibly, it's like a game of Onitama. You're giving them the resources that they're possibly going to be using to beat you. But in the end, you're part of the same hobby that they are succeeding in, right? So you're still not a loser because you've helped them succeed in a hobby that is, I mean, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's kind of hard to succeed in because, there's so many different ideas out there and so many things have already been done. To find something that's truly new and truly fresh, that's hard. So, yeah. Is Feudum that bad? Don't know. Haven't played it. Kaz, nice to see you. Or I think I pronounced your name wrongly last time, and you said that I did, but I can't remember. I'm just going to go with Kaz. Cass? I don't know. Cash. Anyway, your comment, the Dice Odyssey, as a fellow beard aficionado, I'm glad you've kept it. Also, have y'all had a chance to try Dead of Winter Warring Colonies? No, I haven't, and I was just looking at it a couple days ago, saying that thinking that I need to get that to the table. Let's see, I did a good job on the Sci-Fi Space Top 10. The does it have pictures? Yeah, that was just one of those things. Personally, I find a competitive atmosphere to be less productive than an environment dominated by camaraderie. That's one of the reasons I'm afraid to enter the tournament side of my hobby. Yeah, Kenneth, that I feel the very same way. I very much do not like tournaments of even my favorite games. For example, I've played in a Ticket to Ride tournament before, and it was a completely different experience than playing it recreationally, if I can use it that way. Just a completely different experience, and I did not enjoy it at all. Warhammer 40K, same thing, because I found that people would allow others, and I joke about this with Tom all the time, because he got the one of the first tournaments that he and I both were in with 40K. He got the Best Sportsmanship Award. And the reason he did it was because he just basically said, yeah, sure, go ahead, that's fine. And I was watching some of his games, and these people were just taking liberties with him as far as, you know, moving their models an extra few inches, or not that far, of course, but a extra few little nudges here and there just to get closer. He was just letting all that slide. And, you know, his goal was to get best sportsmanship. So he accomplished that goal. But I just don't like that thought process, because I don't think the games were played as well as they should have been because of the competition for whatever they were competing for. Like, for example, Tom was competing for the Best Sportsmanship Award, so he let people do whatever they wanted. But that's not always the best thing to do, right? Because sometimes the people that want to do something that they shouldn't be able to do, or that they shouldn't do. So, I don't know. Let's see here. Valid point that camaraderie gives way to more communication resources, and you touched on the complacency trap, but don't think you can entirely discount that cooperation naturally plays it safe. Possibly. I don't think it always does. I think when you have people working together, you're bouncing more ideas off of each other. And it might be a better way to come with a better solution to whatever it is that you're working towards. And I don't know that it's a play it safe aspect. I think more often than not, it's more efficient. And, you know, taking risks is, yeah, you have to do that sometimes, but it's not always the best thing to do. Yeah. It's so anticlimactic, sorry. How do you feel about meanness in games? Do you have a thick or thin skin when it comes to brutality in competition? How can one learn to enjoy the mean? I think those mean games, it really depends upon who you're playing the game against. If you're playing the game against somebody who is definitely more thin-skinned than everybody else at the table, I think you better pull back, because by playing the game in its rightful spirit of being mean to each other and just going all out, you might be souring that other person to the experience of gaming in general, not just to that game. So that's a tightrope that you have to watch. But I mean, if you're all like, you know, mean games played between lifelong friends, those are usually the meanest. But those are the ones that usually the people just have a blast at, because, you know, they know that's no hard feelings. It's just a game. So to answer your question, how can one learn to enjoy the mean? I don't know that you need to learn how to enjoy a mean game. Maybe it just is that you don't enjoy mean games. Nobody has to enjoy mean games, so I don't think you need to teach anybody to do that. I think it'll just naturally happen if they are the kind of people that will enjoy mean games. What kind of feedback do you get from your kids' experience on the live play? They all had a great time, Catherine was the one that hadn't done it before, and so I was curious. And I was glad to see that she kind of, she's actually a very quiet person more often than not. She has her moments of being boisterous, but she's the one that we will ask, where's Catherine? And she's in her room reading a book, or she's studying for a test tomorrow, or something to that effect. I was glad to see her kind of come out of that shell a little bit, but she enjoyed herself. Everybody, and then David and Michael enjoyed themselves as well. We all had a great time. Ultimately, though, I think this is going back. Tony says, ultimately, though, it's like everything else in life. The right answer is usually somewhere in the gray area in the middle instead of the extreme either side of the spectrum. This is true, but I think it's important that we at least try to narrow down where that answer might fall within that gray area. Just joined the chat. What is the current topic? Did anybody else answer him? No, we're basically talking about should there be a delineation between camaraderie and competition within the hobby, within the industry of board games? Should we be all out competing with one another, or should we take more of an avenue of camaraderie with one another within the hobby, growing the hobby rather than just growing my little spot in the hobby? That's generally what we're doing. Let's see. Hello, Eli. Let's see here. Let's get going. Have you tried the newly rebooted Star Trek Attack Wing? No, haven't. You say that your church group really likes it. The miniatures and rules are vastly improved. Well, that's good to hear, but no, I haven't tried it. I play with a 10-year-old all the time. We stay very early, and nowadays she understands mechanics well. Okay, good. That's very good, Gil. Narnia, yes, that is another good band. Thank you, Jim. Very similar to Theocracy. Yeah, that's very cool. Good job. Good catch. Gil, yes, I have watched Ready Player One. Just saw it last night. Divine Fire in 7 days are other bands that Jim is a metalhead just like me. He lives up in the Atlanta area, and we've met on more than one occasion, and we've talked a lot. So he knows what he's talking about. He's actually the guy that turned me on to Theocracy. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. Do you ever plan to come out to California someday for conventions like Strategicon in Los Angeles? You know, we we already hit so many different conventions. I was just talking to my wife a couple days ago about she was asking me, when's your next trip, and I was telling her that, and she's like, this is getting back into the season now, isn't it? I was like, yep, it certainly is. We average at least one convention every month at this point, and I think it's even more than that now. It might, I mean, just slightly more. I think last year I think we went to 13 conventions, but that was including the cruise. So we average one a month that all of us go to, and that's not even considering the ones that like sometimes, you know, Z will be invited someplace, sometimes Tom will be invited someplace, sometimes they will be invited someplace and I'll stay home. You know, we're not really even counting those. So finding more conventions to fit into the schedule is a difficult thing, because we do have families and we do have lives here at home that it is difficult, and again, I'm not trying to, again, have a pity party here, but it is difficult to be away from family. It's difficult to be away from our families, our lives that are here in Homestead in order to go there. We have a great time at conventions, don't get me wrong, but it presents a dilemma, a definite dilemma, and sometimes very difficult decisions have to be made. Is pinball a dexterity board game? No. I'll call it a dexterity game, but not a board game. All right. Food Chain Magnate. Have I played it? Nope. On the to-do list? Nope. Sorry, just not. It's not really my kind of game, so I'm not actively looking to play that game. If it so happens that everybody sits down to a table and I'm part of that group and they want to play Food Chain Magnate, sure, I'll learn how to play it, but I'm not going to go out and seek it. What would you say is the main reason behind Rising Sun not really overtaking Blood Rage for me? Well, it really didn't even come close, and really I think most of that boils down to the fact that Blood Rage is just a little bit more streamlined for me. I like the combat in Blood Rage a little bit more. It's less convoluted. It doesn't take as long. And I like the gameplay in Blood Rage a lot better. I like the card drafting in Blood Rage more. I like the theme of Blood Rage more. Not that there's anything wrong with the Japanese mythos, but it just more my style, I guess you could say, with Vikings. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Rising Sun just fine. I just enjoy Blood Rage more. That's about the size of it. Stephen Worthington, hi Sam, where in the UK would you like to go that you've not yet managed to get to? I'd highly recommend some of our national parks. Well, again, I don't know exactly what we've been talking about some of the things with our host, but not a whole lot. We were toying with Stonehenge, but it's just way too far out of the way, and we've heard stories that it's like anticlimactic anyway. So I don't know yet. Our host has talked about possibly Churchill's War Rooms, which would be fascinating for me. I would love to go down there, but again, I don't know what we're going to have time to do, and money is another issue as well. So we'll see. Are there any games you want to play but can't seem to get to the table? Yeah, there's a lot of those, but none in particular. That's just a common, always happening problem. Hope you're well. I'm looking to find a game with a rich and interesting crafting mechanic in game, whether that be forging weaponry, cooking up food, or brewing potions. Thanks in advance. Wow, I couldn't help you there. But maybe somebody in the chat can. Have you ever? Sam, have you ever considered joining the Historical Miniatures Gaming Society, the largest miniature club in the United States with chapters nationwide? No, I haven't, because unfortunately, I would always be a fringe person, and not that that's a bad thing, but I'm not as into miniatures gaming as I once was, and I don't think I'll ever be as into it as I was then. And the reason I say that is because my job, I can't spend all of my time on miniature games. I have to be more diversified. So that's the main reason why that doesn't really kind of appeal to me. But kudos for those who do. I think that those are great kinds of societies to have. So that's cool. Have I played Raiders of the North Sea with the expansions yet? No. Christopher says that it has become one of his favorite worker placement games because of the expansions and the theme, and I know Tom loves it with the expansions. Yes, that's true. He played those without us, so I haven't been able to do it yet, but I really do want to, because Raiders of the North Sea was one of my favorite games a couple of years ago, and now that they've come out with the expansions for it, I would really like to try it again. What toy lines did you collect as a kid? I did not collect toys when I was a kid. I got toys to play with. And I did not collect anything. I simply got stuff because I wanted to play with it. And that was back when Star Wars was very popular. So I had, the lightsabers. And my mom actually didn't want me to have any type of gun or anything like that. So I didn't have any of the blasters. But I always used my friends' blasters when we played. But I had a lightsaber at one point. Matchbox and Hot Wheels, Army Men. I remember playing in the garden. Well, it was supposed to be like a little flower patch in front of our house, base housing. And we didn't have any flowers planted in it, so I used to play in that. I used to play cars in there, all that kind of stuff. I never really collected anything. Toys were to be played with, not to be collected. Who at the Dice Tower has to get rid of all the shipping boxes from the immense mail you guys get? I imagine that's a pain. Yeah, that's mainly Kenny's job now. He's our studio assistant, I guess. I don't know what his official title is, but he is the man that gets stuff done. That's what we all know about Kenny. So he helps in here with getting our live stuff done. He has taken, he's taken over Facebook and Twitter and getting all those posts done and that type of stuff. And he helps Tom with mailing things out and receiving and getting rid of those boxes and saving boxes to be reused later. So that's him. And yes, it's a very difficult job. He does a great job at it too. It's a good co-op game to play with my girlfriend who hates going 1v1 against me. A good co-op game to play. I've heard that Pandemic plays well with 2. Pandemic Legacy also plays well with 2. That's what I've heard. I've never played it that way before, so it is a co-op game. It's one of my favorite co-op games, but how it plays with 2, I've never done it. I've just heard that it plays well at 2. Will you ever see a G.I. Joe? Will we ever see a G.I. Joe minis game? I have no idea, but it would be pretty cool. Do you like classic chit-based games that have been around a very long time as Starfleet Battles? No, I don't, and that's mainly because I have meat hooks for fingers, and picking up those things, even with tweezers, it's really difficult, and that diminishes the level of enjoyment for me. Hey, Kabuki showed up. That's cool. Late to the party. How are you? All is well here. Thanks. Okay, I'm just reading the conversation you guys are having. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Let's see. What is a third culture kid? All right. Well, third culture kid is someone who is born in one culture and has lived in another because of something else. For example, and I'm probably doing a really bad example of this, but I was born in Texas, and so I take that with me. I was born into a military family, which is the second culture, and then I've lived in other countries, which is that third culture. So being born in America, that's one thing. Being a military kid is another culture in and of itself. And then living in a third culture, usually because your parent is deployed or something to that effect, that is what a third culture kid would be. Now, that's only one kind of third culture kid. You could have, for example, when I taught in Korea, we had full-blooded Korean students that were raised in Korea, but they had lived in another country, for example, Canada or America, the U.S., to better learn how to speak English, and now they are they're back in Korea, but they're in a Western school. So they would also be considered third culture kids. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be a third culture kid, but it usually just has to do with the number of hats that you've worn, so to speak, over the course of your lifetime. And that's probably a okay. Gil T had a good description. Third culture kid is a kid who grows up outside their own culture. They don't fit into the culture where they live, but they also don't feel like part of their parents' culture, so they are in and of themselves a third culture person. All right, so that's good. Let's see here. I said that I would, but I haven't. Let me pop over here to the Twitch chat here for a little bit, and let's answer some of these things. What are your thoughts on medically themed games? They tend to mostly be co-op and not very good at that. Yeah, I guess medically themed games is a difficult genre to be part of. There's one that's part of the Dice Tower Essentials called Viral that is medically themed and very much not cooperative, because you're trying to be the most devastating virus in this person's body, or the host's body, whatever it might be. So that's definitely not cooperative, and it's pretty fun at that. So there's that. And Raymond here, yes, I am answering from Twitch now. I wanted to know what you thought about people who play competitive games exclusively. I tried to get a friend to play more cooperative games, but they found that concept to be foreign to them. Do you know anyone like that? Sure, there's all kinds of those kinds of people all over the place. And it's probably just not one, it's just not a concept that they're familiar with, or maybe they just don't find it fun. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily. It's just, they're just not, they're not savvy on that type of thing. He continues and says, I for one don't like, I'm sorry, somebody else says, I for one don't like co-op games. Too many quarterbacks. I want to make my own decisions. That's true. And the alpha player problem is something that really rises to the top in co-op games. But again, that's something that you really just have to handle within your own group. So that there is that. I think what fascinates me are people who don't know co-op games exist. Well, that is true, but I mean, that's really just a question of exposure, not of intellect or interest. So I would be careful with that. Really depends. The quarterbacking issue depends on who you play with. Yes, that is true. There's a huge difference between national enemies competing and competing within the business educational world. Yes, there is. There is a huge difference there, and I don't mean for that example that was made to be the crux of the entire conversation. That's just one example. So that is true. Battlelore 2nd Edition or Shadespire? Right now it's Shadespire because I just like it's the brevity of it and the ease of setup and play and so forth and so on. Not that Battlelore 2nd Edition is hard, it's just that Shadespire is slightly easier. Zero competition will bring stagnation and complacency. I don't agree with that statement. Nair says, I like cooperation, but semi-co-op is a great way to go, not just in board games. Understood. And again, I don't know that zero competition always ends in stagnation. I don't think that's I don't think that is the case or should be the case. I think competition can end in stagnation. Because you could both be missing a very key part of the problem that you're both looking at, but because you're not talking to each other, you both miss it, and so it just goes by the wayside. What is a solid miniature game that has depth and solid gameplay? There's a lot of those out there. I am new to board gaming and like war games minis, but don't know of any that would satisfy the Eurogamer in me depth-wise. I think is what I'm trying to say. Well, there is that. I think the level of, the depth that you're looking at is probably found in other areas, not necessarily the mechanisms in some of these other miniature type games. But yeah, those are two different bears. I mean, and you really have to come at each of them separately. But to answer your question, I don't think that there really is. That's why we have two camps of games really anymore. There's Euro games and Amerithrash games. So, so let's continue here. Looking for more stuff. What is the name of the song at the end of all the top 10 lists? I don't know. Usually we get the songs that we use, we get them from a royalty-free website, and I don't really know the names of some of these songs. I try to make a note of some of them if I'm the one doing the editing, but often it's Z doing the editing on the top 10 lists, so that would be a good question for him. But I would imagine he doesn't know the name of the song. All right. Not a whole lot of questions over here in Twitch. Any plans on painting, building an Age of Sigmar army? We already did, actually. Rob Orrin and I handled that with Battling Brushes. Oh, wow. Back when Age of Sigmar came out, or very closely thereafter. So you can go back and try to check that out. But I did the Sigmarites, and then I think he did the bad guys. I can't remember what they're called. Yeah. All right. Games have now started using electronic devices such as iPads and smartphones. Surely this will only increase in the future. Could we be in danger of losing the essence of board gaming and just playing electronic games together? That's a little more than computer gaming. That's true. That is true. And that's another tightrope that the industry has to walk, right? Because you want to stay current. You want to use those modern things that are available to us to use. And a lot of those companion apps are definitely just that right now. You know, they provide background music and they help, guide the game along in some way, shape, or form. Nobody's really kind of jumped the shark as far as that is concerned and made it to where everybody is just looking at the screen at the same time around the same table. So I don't think we're there yet, but I guess we are in danger of doing that, but I don't think we're very close to that area yet. I think the industry is still pretty savvy on keeping board games on the table and just using these electronic devices as companions. So that's good. I don't mind board games that use apps, but I rarely play my digital games because I love the tactile feel of cards, pieces. That's just true. But again, some of those companion apps aren't really replacing anything. The one that readily comes to mind is Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. It really just gains the flow, keeps track of some of the accounting that you have to do in the game, but you're still kind of rolling dice, and you're still doing this, and you're still doing that. You still have pieces that you can manipulate in the physical world, but that digital companion app just keeps the game going along for you. So that's cool. All right. Well, I think that's about it as far as... Oh, we got another one here. Said Spectre 1. Sam, have you had a chance to check out the new Fireball Island prototype in person? If so, what do you think? I know I'm pretty excited about the remake. I am seeing stuff from PAX East, and I'm kind of jealous because the Dice Towers Gen Con show was the first time that got... last year was the first time that got... broken as far as the news was concerned. So I'm kind of jealous that we haven't really been able to play one of the the better prototypey forms of it yet. But the videos that I've been watching, the different pictures of people playing it at PAX East, it's exciting. It's exciting to see it come alive. So yeah, Rob and Justin are doing a good job at Restoration Games, and they're really putting it. They're knocking it out of the park. That's for sure. All right. Well, let's head back to our YouTube comments here for a minute. Let me see if we can collect any more of them. Let's see here. I've heard news Eric Lane coming back to Blood Rage. Wow, really? I don't know that. I haven't heard that, but maybe not. I don't know of anything that should be added. Now, again, I'm not the designer of the game. I'm just a fan of it. So maybe he sees something that is a hole, and whether once I've played it, if I think it's a hole that needed to be filled or not, I don't know, but we'll see. I am excited for Heroes of Black Reach. I'm very excited for that one. Have not played Frostgrave. Let's see. Have I played any of the Hold Fast games? Living on Post is definitely different than in the civilian world. This is correct, William. Very, very different. But no, I haven't played any of the Hold Fast games. Win prediction for the Cubs. You know, I am a Cubs fan, but I don't pay as much attention to sports as I do. I watch it in my leisure time more often than not, and I don't have a whole lot of that when I'm not playing games or something to that effect. So I don't know, like I don't keep track of off-season trading or any of that kind of stuff, the moves, or this person got put here and this guy. I know for example, I know the Bears got a new coach, but I don't know who he is or what his name is or anything like that. So I don't keep track of all that kind of stuff. But I just watch the team when I can get to it. Have you ever played any of the Hexplorer games? No, I haven't. Sorry. Speaking of mean games, what is your favorite mean game, Sam? Well, I usually don't like games that want you to be mean to each other just to be mean to each other. I think there are some games that are out there that I usually don't like mean games. I'll put it that way. I usually don't like, take that games or games where you have to be mean to someone. I don't know. Costs. All right, now I have it. Costs. Or is that cos? It's not cos. It's costs. No harm, no foul. Samwise the bearded one. All right, cool. Thanks. Costs. All right, let's see here. I'm looking. Camaraderie is more important to me than just winning. Winning is fun, but in the end, fun is the goal. Okay. Any thoughts on playable blockchain tabletop gaming? Don't know what that meant. What that is. So I'm sorry. Sam, follow up. You are right. As a designer, I shouldn't be blind to the help I've received through Camaraderie at playtests. Yes, that's true. I've helped others compete against me, but my design has benefited too. That is correct. And that's the thing, right? As designers, as content creators, we can help each other put more stuff out there if we work together, right? But sadly, I have seen it in the past where it's like, no, you do you, I'll do me, and, why should we help each other? Well, I think because if we help each other, we can get more good stuff out there. That's why. All right, so what about games that you play on teams? So you have Camaraderie on your team, but competition against the enemy team. Well, yeah, Kabuki, that's pretty much what we're talking about. I mean, that is an interesting aspect of it for sure, because you are working with other people on this team, and you're working against the other people on the other team. So that is part of it, yeah. I get a bit grumpy if players push me in a corner, that I am stuck in the game, not doing anything fun or not anything that matters, but I am a gracious loser and winner mostly. Okay, yeah, that can be a problem, and that's one of the things I usually try not to play 3-player games, or at least I'm very delineating on the 3-player games that I play, because more often than not those devolve into 2-on-1, and that can be not fun for the one person. Yeah. I did not at all like the 90s alternative grunge scene. Did not like that at all. It just sounded like somebody clearing their throat more often than not. Didn't like it at all. So let's see. Somebody already asked that. Shadespire or Battle War 2nd Edition, and Shadespire wins right now. Let's see. I'm skipping a lot of stuff, people, but I want to be. Hey Sam, Trevor asks, do you have any siblings? It's kind of strange. I was born an only child. My mom, who passed away when I was 10. She was actually told originally that she couldn't have any kids at all, and here I came along, and then after that she was definitely not able to. So I don't have any full-blooded siblings, but I do have 2. I have a stepsister. Her name is Carrie. She lives in Alabama, and then I have a half-sister, Brittany, and she lives up in Maryland. So I do have 2 sisters, and they live relatively close, but not as close as I'd like it to be, because it's really hard to get away. I mean, we here down in South Florida, we really feel like we are at the bottom, and we got to climb up to get anywhere. I mean, it's a what, 7-hour, 8-hour drive out of the state? At least. Yeah. Yeah, it's a 7-8 hour drive just to get out of Florida. So it's really difficult. But you know. Let's see. Is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea better than Blood Rage? No. I like it. It's fun. But in my opinion, it's not better than Blood Rage. But it is a fun game. Let's see here. Chad says, played Fireball Island prototype a couple days ago. It was as fun as it looks. Well, that is high praise, because it looks very, very fun. Is Vatel Lacerda as awesome a human being as he seems to be? I was able to meet him at Origins last year, and he is a very neat person. Now, I didn't spend a whole lot of time with him, but he was very personable. He was very easy to talk to, fun to talk to, and he makes some very deep games. So yes, I would say that he probably is as awesome a human being as he seems to be. All right, let's go ahead and just spend the next 4 or so minutes. We'll do the lightning round that we usually try to end up with here. And so this is where you give me 2 choices, and I have to choose one of them, whatever it might be. And I could choose neither if I feel so inclined. So, or I might just not answer your question. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and start with that. I'll start over in Twitch because that's a little bit faster, I guess. Because there's a little bit less of a turnover. So we'll do lightning rounds. So Twitch, you're on right now, man. While we're waiting for that to come in, I think the future of gaming will be an augmented virtual area, like a resort type murder mystery. Tactical resources will be developed for training purposes, get financing, software. So basically you're saying Real Player One is the future. That's basically what you're saying. Okay, I hope not. All right, Kabuki Kid. Yeah. Aluminum or aluminium? Well, I would say aluminium. Fruit or vegetable? Depends on the fruit or vegetable, but I would say more often than not I would probably go with fruit. But vegetables are good too. Let's see. All right, let's see here. Steak or ribs? Steak, just because I don't usually like eating with my hands that much, especially if it's going to be something messy, which usually ribs are, because they have that barbecue sauce or whatever, or rub on them or whatever you put on it. So I'm going to go with steak. I like steak. Color or color? Kabuki. Hope. Bonnet or hood? I get what you're saying, but it could also be a bonnet for a girl or a hood, which could be a boy or a girl. So there you have it. That's true. Jumper or sweater? Well, jumpers make you sweat too, so both of them. All right, let's go back to, let's see what we got here with our YouTube comments. Let's see, Rampage or King Kong? Don't know yet, haven't seen Rampage. Champions of Midgard or Rising Sun? Right now, Champions of Midgard. Winter or summer? Winter. It's always easier to dress up to the cold than it is to sometimes dress down to the heat. Head of hair or facial hair? What do you think? Tacos or burritos? Burritos, meal in the tube is the way to go. Linda Carter or Gal Gadot? I'm going to go with Gal Gadot. I like her portrayal. Not to say that Linda Carter did a bad job. She's definitely iconic, but I like the new version a little bit better. Dungeon Pets, or do you recommend something over that? Yeah, I would recommend Dungeon Pets. I actually played it at MeepleCon for the first time a few weeks ago and enjoyed it a lot. I did horribly, but I did enjoy the experience. No smell or no taste? Ooh. Can you have one without the other? Because both of them are linked. So I'm going to say if you can divide them, which I think you can, I'm going to go with taste. I'd rather have my taste than because sometimes not being able to smell something is very advantageous. Donut or sandwich? Sandwich. Solo board game or read a book? Read a book. Salsa or cheese dip? I'm going to say salsa cheese dip because that's the best. Gen Con or Origins. I'm going to go with Origins is my favorite of those two, but I do enjoy Gen Con. Donuts or Go Nuts. Wow, really? You went there. Megalodon Shark or Bruce from Finding Nemo. Pete. Welcome, Pete. I knew before looking at your name, because I don't look at the name first, I always look at the question first. I knew that was you. Hi, Pete. How you doing? I'm going to go with Bruce from Finding Nemo. Hello. Let's see. Suzanne Sheldon or Mandy Hutchinson. Neither of them. Both of them. You can't separate those two. I like them both. They're very fun to be around. They're very good gamers, both of them. So, yeah. London or Birmingham? You know, I haven't actually gone out and to see Birmingham, so I really can't say yay or nay on either of them. The only experience that I have at Birmingham is in the hotel or in the convention center, so that doesn't really count. Tanks or howitzers? Tanks. I like tanks better. Long hair cat or short hair cat? How about no cat? Korea or the U.S.? Living in them? They both have their definite pros and cons, but I do miss living in Korea. Ice cream or cake? How about ice cream and cake? That's the better. Fish or pasta? I'm going to go with pasta, but I do like a good salmon. Fighter jets or bombers? Jets are more fun. Movies or books? It depends. Don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to try. Sleep or all-night gaming? Definitely sleep, because I want to wake up and be alive. Dust Tactics or Tannhäuser? You know, for its ingenuity, I'm going to say Tannhäuser, but I really do enjoy Dust Tactics as a miniatures tabletop game as well. Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica? BSG, definitely. Let's see, did Han shoot first or second? He definitely shot first. Han Solo or Boba Fett? Han Solo, come on. I don't know what that means. Oh, it's two of the same thing. Fart or guff, yes, okay. All right, that's good, that's good. Jaws or Close Encounters? I like Close Encounters better, just because I'm not that much of a horror movie fan. Marvel or DC? You don't know me. Marvel. Let's see, Space Odyssey or The Shining? I didn't really like either of those. One was boring and one was a little bit too creepy. So I didn't really like either of them. They're both iconic, but not my thing. Chocolate or strawberry milk? Strawberry milk is my favorite. Brittany or Christina? Neither of them. Let's see. Punk rock or new wave? Neither. Head cheese or olive loaf? Probably neither. Game mechanics or theme? I think theme is more important. Not that game mechanics aren't important, but a good theme can really make some good mechanics shine. Bears or cubs? I am not choosing between those two. Both. Sweet or savory? I usually like more savory type things than I do sweet. Rising 5 or Yamatai? I'm going to go with Rising 5. I like that game a little bit better, but Yamatai is good. Galactica or Serenity? Those are two different kinds of ships. Why are you making me choose? I'm going to say Galactica, although Serenity is great, and that's a great show. Blood Rage or Rising Sun? We already answered that. Blood Rage. Origins or Gen Con? Origins. Fly an SR-71 Blackbird or Blood Rage themed TI-4 depth game? I would have to say that being in the cockpit of SR-71 Blackbird while it is in flight would be much more of a memorable experience. Monty Python, Holy Grail, or Super Troopers? Monty Python. Hellcat or Lightning? Ooh. Oh. I think the Hellcat's a little bit cooler to me. TF4 Blood Rage. Blood Rage, come on, guys. Spitfire or Mustang? I'm going to go with the Spitfire. I like the Spitfire better. Anyway, that's going to be it. We're going to go ahead and shut down. I've already gone much longer than I probably should have. But thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for joining in, giving me your thoughts about this whole idea of camaraderie versus competition. Maybe we'll come back to it some other time in the future. But I don't know. It's just something that I was thinking about, and I appreciate you guys taking a look at that question. So that's it from me. We're going to go ahead and get out of here, and I'm going to get over here so that I can stop the streaming. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys later on. Don't forget, we do have another live memoir session this Thursday at, I believe, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully we'll see you there. We're going to be taking on a breakthrough scenario. So it's going to be a little bit different. Orientation of the board might be changed a bit, but we'll do the best we can to make it enjoyable for you guys as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the flip side.